Hey guys, and welcome to Retro Rebound, a series where we talk about a nostalgic game that we played throughout the month. I'm your host Brandon, joined by Gary, and this month we played Wario World for the Nintendo GameCube. Alright, Gary, we're back again.
Yes.
Big.
Yes, father.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're back again. What are your overall impressions with Wario World?
I think it's a pretty good game. It's very simple. It's very short.
Super
very
short.
short game. I know you told me it was a platformer when we started doing this one. That was sort of like Mario, but not exactly like Mario. And Mario games, you have like 8 worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be pretty long, but it's not even like half that.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's a really short game.
There's what, 4 or 5?
I think there's 3 worlds, but each world has like 2 levels, maybe 3 if you count the bosses, and then like the final boss. So it's a really short game. It was fun though, but I mean, very short.
It's super interesting. I feel like almost in some weird way that Wario World, Super Mario Sunshine, and Luigi's Mansion make up like this weird, obscure trilogy of GameCube games because they're all, besides Sunshine being like the main Mario title for the console, Luigi's Mansion and Wario World are incredibly short games.
Yeah.
Featuring like Nintendo's mascots essentially. So like Sunshine and to an extent Wario World have like these weird ass physics engines that like don't quite work as well as they I guess are made.
Should.
Yeah, as well as they should. And they all kind of have that like GameCube look to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
They all play incredibly differently, but it's besides
I mean, the
point.
game has a lot of personality, which is nice.
Yeah.
But again, it like as much as I think I really liked it, but it was so short that, by the time I think I got into the swing of it, it's just sort of over.
Right. All right, so moving on to the levels, which one would you say was your favorite one?
I think I really liked the first level the most.
The first one?
Yeah, I know it's like it was super simple, and I mean the first level was like super linear too.
You mean Greenhorn
it's,
Forest? Like the first level in the game?
Yeah, like the
Okay.
very first level. I'm trying to think if I liked any of the other levels that much. No, I think my favorite level was probably the first one.
I actually agree with you. Greenhorn Forest is my favorite level as well.
Yeah.
Not because the other ones are like necessarily bad, but I think Greenhorn Forest is just the most fun to play through.
I like the first one because the first one was the most casual in terms of setting. It was also like had like the most color, I feel.
Yeah.
So it was easy to sort of get into as a first level, and it was also, since there wasn't really too much harm from any of the enemies there, it was nice to like go at my own pace and learn things as I went along. It was fun, it was easier, it was pretty linear, and then all like the little sub-level puzzles were kind of fun, but also not hard enough that I wouldn't enjoy it, but gave like a fair challenge, I feel like.
Yeah, what did you think about those sub-level puzzles? I'm curious because there are 2 varieties. There's the normal ones where you're like in that like a little room and you have to solve like a quick one, and then there's like the floodless level-esque ones where you have to do like platforming challenges.
Well, so I kind of have mixed feelings about the sub-levels.
Okay.
Initially, and again, I think this is part of why I like the first level in the game so much, is because initially those sub-levels start out pretty fun. Like, you just sort of jump in, ground pound through the door, and you're doing like a quick and easy sort of like mini game almost. And those rely more so on like your platforming skills rather than like beating up an enemy or breaking a block sort of thing. So I enjoyed that because it was different. But what I didn't like about the sub-levels is that, one, there's so many sub-levels.
There's so
I
many.
think each stage has like 8 or so.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound that bad, but to get through and like pass a stage, you have to collect however many crystals that like a sub-level rewards you from completing it. So I think like the first stage you only need like 2 or 3, but then in the final stage you need like 6, and that sucks because sometimes the sub levels will be on your way to the end boss area. So it's like, yeah, you're just collecting them as you go, and you should be able to get enough. But if you want to get all of the sub levels, you need to like, search the map, and some sub levels require killing a certain enemy or breaking through it with the enemy by like doing a pile driver. So like as a whole, I I think the sub levels I kind of have mixed feeling about it because they were fun at first, but just having like being forced to do them and being forced to do a lot of them kind of just drained me. But I also something I didn't really like about the sub levels was every single one of them had a spring,
Yeah, they do.
and those springs were auto triggered. So sometimes I would like beat the level, and then I would because the hitbox isn't great.
Would you run over the spring before
Yeah,
you
I
grab
would
the
run over
jet?
the screen. I'm like, all right, sick. I got to do this whole level again.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And some of those sub levels are actually like they're varying in difficulty.
Yeah, tell me. I actually 100%ed the game. I got every single
Okay.
gold piece, and I got every single gem from the sub level, and every single
Commitment.
pixie guy or whatever they're called. And most of them were a breeze. Like most of them, you run through, you find out what you have to do, and then you have to do it. But some
Right.
of them are so freaking hard, especially the I'm gonna keep calling them the floodless levels, like the platforming challenges. There was
Sure.
one where I think it was one with like rotating rectangles, like they would slowly spin.
Oh, yeah.
That one took me forever to do. I could not, and like
Yeah.
I got sunshine flashbacks. Like I would slide off the edge of like a rotating platform or be launched by it. Like I just could not do it. It took me like probably like 20 minutes of a 40-minute recording just to do that one sub level.
And I can add to that is that the sub levels are not made equally because when you do like your first sub level, it's literally break these blocks that have like an X on them.
Right.
And if you break enough of them, then there you go. The treasure's like literally at the middle. But then you get further in the game, and some of them are, oh, here are some blocks that appear and disappear, and you need to be like not frame perfect, but you have to like time your jumps. And if you don't time it right, then you just fall into the ether, and you have to start all over. So even if
Yep.
you're at like the very end, there's no checkpoint in the middle. So if you fall at any point in that, you have to start from the very beginning all over again.
Yep.
And one of the other things that I just remembered that added to the frustration of that is that just in the game, just in general, you can't move your camera on your own.
Yeah, you have 3 angles that you can view. You can view to the left
Yeah.
of you, the center of you, and then to the right of you.
Yeah, like the camera's very static, and you can like nudge it a little.
In sub
But that-
levels though,
that
you
doesn't help.
can go up and down as well.
Right. So like in the overworld, you can nudge it like left and right, but I never really did that because the nudge was like by a pixel.
Yeah,
So that
it doesn't really help
doesn't
you.
help. But in the sub levels, you can do it like left and right, which was helpful. But sometimes some of the angles that you want to go at are like from above or from below, and then it basically follows like that same really slight tilt that you would have in the overworld, where like the change is so minimal in the camera that it's honestly better if you just didn't
If you just leave it
move
alone.
the camera at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that kind of sucked because it's hard to like judge the distance when the camera you can't really move it how you want to. So yeah, it would have been great if you could like move out the camera or zoom it in at any time you want. Or just having full control of the camera would be great.
Right.
Just not being able to move it and then having to do fairly precise platforming was not fun.
Right. This game's kind of like a weird mix of like a 3D platformer and a side scroller, in the sense where like it's a side scroller, but you have to do 3D platforming with a very limited camera move. I don't know. It's super strange. I do like that for the sub levels and for the main levels actually, they took a very interesting approach to level design. I think like everything was so drastically different. Besides maybe like a few sub levels were kind of the same, maybe like 3 or 4 out of like I don't know, the 40. So I do like that they tried to do different things with each one of them, but it just didn't work all the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, the challenges for the sub level again. Initially, I enjoyed them because I thought it was fun and neat. I didn't enjoy that the fact that later on, like as you get further in the game, you have to do more and more of them. And if I don't like the level, making me do more mini games in that level just makes me hate that stage even more.
Right,
Because I'm like,
right.
oh man, I just want to leave. You know, like I'm already at the end. I feel like I've seen everything. Just let me in. And it's like, nope, you need to find like 2 or 3 more crystals, and then you have to go do those sub levels, and then those sublevels have their own issues, and oh, I fell off into the ether, time to start from square one. It can be very frustrating.
Yeah, going off of that, since I did 100%, I got all the golden Wario pieces as well. And there
Yeah.
was one piece for I think it was in Shivering Mountains, the ice level. There was one golden piece at the top of the slope in the very beginning. And I just kept missing it. I replayed that level probably 8 times, solely trying to get that one piece. Because at the end of each level, you can take a glue globe, I think is what they're called, up into the sky, and then it puts you back at the beginning.
Right.
And I just kept missing it. So I had to replay that level like 8 times, and it was miserable. Which is sad, because I actually kind of like that level. I don't actually hate any of the levels in the game. Like, it's just a casual romp through. But trying to 100% it and collect everything was such a headache. It was a bad time, because there's no counter. Like, it tells you, oh, you have 5 out of, 9, but it doesn't tell you where they are. So you just kind of have to guess where you've been, and even if you're using a guide, which I didn't, you just kind of have to guess where you've been, and it's rough.
Yeah. I mean, definitely for better or worse, the game controls like a GameCube era.
It sure
3D
does.
platformer. You know, at times it's like, oh yeah, it's all fluid, it's working well, and then at other times, it sucks. You know.
Yeah, yep. So talking about the bosses, which one was your favorite? Which one was your least favorite? Did you like the creativity in some of them?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the bosses were really unique and interesting, design-wise and also gameplay-wise. Because no boss fight really feels the same, at least in their attack patterns and what they do. Fighting the bosses feels the same for most of them,
Right.
in my opinion.
I mean, considering Wario only has like 4 moves.
Right. So the thing is that like your 2 moves per se to like do damage to a boss, that I know of, maybe you did something different, is that you hit them till they like fall down and start squirming, and then you either pick them up and like do the spin to throw them, or you pick them up and then try to pile drive them. And what I found to be so much easier is to just pile drive every enemy, because that's a guaranteed hit. And the reason for this is because I made sure to write this one down, because it made me really upset when it happened, is when you do the throw, I think that there is a way to like throw the enemy as you do the spin, but on the very first boss, you can like throw him into the lava. And so what I did is I threw him, and he bounced off of the wall, and like instead of going into the lava, he bounced off of the wall and back at me.
Oh wow.
And because like you only get one chance at that too.
Yeah.
Like when you throw him and you fail per se, he just gets back up. So I tried to pick him up again, and it wouldn't let me, obviously. So he just like punched me, and I died because I was at like 1 HP, and he was at 1 HP too. So I was like super upset, because I was like, I didn't know that they could bounce back. And it's not just like stage specific, because the stages have like walls, so you have to throw them kind of like at the right angle
almost,
to get them into that lava. So for every boss, like from there on, when I found out you could just pile drive them, I honestly just preferred to pile drive them, because not only is it faster, because once you do the jump, you can immediately pile drive. So it's much faster than throwing them, but it's also much more accurate, because, Wario doesn't move, he just spins to do the pile drive and just lands right where you jump. So that's what I would do for the bosses. But I think the bosses were really interesting and stuff, because interesting in like a creepy way.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of them have like a really unique design. But I remember that for the circus level,
That's exactly the one I was thinking of.
yeah,
The
the
circus
circus level,
boss.
he looks so weird. He's like a weird, like big-headed baby guy, and he summons baby head bombs and throws heads at you. And it's like a really weird fight.
Yeah,
But again, I don't like dislike most of the boss fights, but it was just really weird and creepy that it like came out of nowhere, really.
this game's got a very big like dream vibe to it. Like even in the intro when he, like gem pops out and then he just falls into Excitement Central and then the game just starts.
Yeah.
To like all the enemies being like weird. They're like monsters kind of. And then the bosses are all super strange. Like my favorite boss is I think his name is literally just Red Brief.
Okay.
He's the ox that like is in
Oh,
red
the
briefs,
lava
and he
ox?
just like runs around. Yeah. He's my favorite. I like him a lot. Yeah.
I actually didn't like him too much.
Really?
But the only reason I didn't like him was because every time he would slam on the ground, it would lag my game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I
kinda
had
weird.
major lag when I fought him. And it made it worse because again, the fastest method to fighting these bosses is to just pile drive them.
Yeah.
So he would do the slam, then I would do the slam to hurt him, and my game would be running like literally a friggin' slideshow presentation.
Jeez,
So-
that's strange.
Yeah, that one was a weird fight.
I guess I don't really have a least favorite. They're all kind of fun.
Good, cause I have a worst.
Oh yeah?
Uh, the worst boss in my opinion is the skull ship captain guy.
Oh, I just thought his fight was boring.
I don't think his fight is hard by any means. I just didn't like it because what you have to do is, or like what I was doing is he would like try to shoot cannonballs at you or run over to you and like you just punch him, beat him up, and then you can pile drive him, right?
Yep.
But for that very last hit, what he does is he starts evading you and jumping to like the other side of the ship. He'll shoot like cannonballs, and what you have to do is you have to throw a cannonball at him to like knock him out. And then in that time that he's knocked out, you have to run over there and get to him. And then when you get to him, you can pile drive him. And that's like the whole reason I don't like it, because again, this game plays like a GameCube platformer for better or worse. So when you hit him with the ball, that's the easy part. The hard part is getting over to the other side of the ship, like jumping down the mast or climbing up the thing, and then grabbing him and pile driving him. Because I found out that it was really hard timing wise to do that for me, because sometimes I would fall into the water because I like misjudged my jump, and other times I would just run out of time because I couldn't get there in time, and then I would have to wait for it again.
I ended up using the barrels, and I hit him with a barrel every single time. They were
I
like
didn't
these-
even know you could throw the barrels.
Yeah, there were like barrels on the
That's
sides of the ship, and that was my first instinct, was to just use the barrels. I didn't even know you could punch him. I thought he would just run away.
Yeah, see, because I thought the barrels were just like
Set
built
dressing?
into the
Yeah.
etc. So I didn't even think to throw them.
Yeah.
But that goes into like one of the things that I didn't like about this game is not every enemy that you encounter is, like you don't really pick up on how to fight them like at a glance, and the game doesn't always tell you how you're supposed to fight them. So for the ship captain guy, what I was initially doing, because I didn't know that you were supposed to throw like one of his cannonballs at him or like throw something at him,
Yeah.
because and again, I just ran up and punched him,
Right.
and that worked. So I didn't know that you were supposed to throw something at him, and I didn't know what you could throw. So I was just like dodging him, and I was waiting for him to like settle down so I could go punch him. And obviously he wouldn't do that. So I actually had no idea what I was doing in that fight, that I actually did have to look up a guide for it.
Oh.
And when I looked it up, I felt stupid because I was like, oh, of course you're supposed to throw a cannonball. How could you not think of that? But, in the heat of the battle, why would I, because punching him has worked every single time. Why would it not work this time?
Right. This game kind of encourages you to just run at things and start beating them up, which is one thing I kind of like about it.
Well, and for in defense of the game, a lot of the enemies are very simple to fight. Like you just have to punch them or run into them enough times and they'll go down. And it doesn't really get much harder than that. It's typically very easy to fight those enemies and bosses. But there's like a few, even like a few of the mobs don't really make sense to me, like how to fight them at first. Yeah, so drawing like on a specific one, those weird like barrier totem guys, I had no idea how to fight them at first. And the only reason I found out how to fight them is because I think I did enough damage like by chance to them while just fighting what they do.
You mean like the long like laser guys?
Yeah, so what the barrier guys do is they'll show up in like a wide open area and like they'll just like sprout up or like fall from the sky and create a giant barrier and you can't leave that barrier.
Yeah.
And then once they do that, they create like those little enemies. And what you're supposed to do is like beat up those enemies and like hit them with it or just hit like their crystal. But again, that's not for sure is not self-explanatory. Because I thought the totem guy, because he looks like a totem, is just like an object who is made, to create the barrier. And what I'm supposed to do is beat up all of the little minions until I can get out. And I realized, when I broke it, that no, you're supposed to be fighting that guy.
Oh, that's super interesting because I don't know if it's just my muscle memory, but I always just, like from the first one I saw, I punched out one of the little guys and then like swung him around. And once you get the swing going, you don't have to control it anymore. So I would just sit next to him while swinging and you'd hit him twice and then he'd go down. And I don't know if that was just muscle memory or like I just picked it up that was what I was supposed to do really fast, but I didn't have any trouble with them at all.
Because I didn't pick up on that at first, because also when you spin it, I think that I could be remembering this wrong, but the hit detection noise of when you hit them is more of like a ching.
Yeah, so
a high pitched noise rather than when you hit another enemy, it's more of like a thwack.
Yeah, one thing I also like about this game, kind of going off of that, is everything is super squishy. Like everything you're not supposed to be able to like damage, it makes like a little like squeak essentially, like a rubber duck. So what you're saying is when you hit them, they make squeak noise, except for that one moment they're vulnerable or whatever.
Right.
And with the swing-a-ling-ding, if you just run into that pillar guy, it just keeps squeaking, and then you get the one hit, and then he becomes invulnerable again. So I get why you wouldn't think you could hit him.
Right, and that's what I mean is that. Because that's not very intuitive, because when you first encounter that, there's no like hint person or anything who says, hey, make sure you hit the crystal because that's what you're supposed to be hitting.
Right.
And because the hit detection noise is off from everything else that I've been fighting so far, I thought, oh, that's just to mean that like I'm hitting a wall.
Right.
And I'm not supposed to be hitting that. So I think when I first started fighting him, I tried to stay away from him and I was just fighting the mobs because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And that sound is off to me because that doesn't sound like a hit detection sound.
Right.
But later when I found it out, I was like, oh, okay. It's just different. And I guess it's the sound of a crystal hitting a guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just not very intuitive to me. And I didn't really like the final boss too much, but we can get to that later.
Okay.
If you want.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, one thing I really like about this game, I guess for newer players, is there aren't that many mobs. They introduce like a few newer ones later in the game, but instead of just doing like recolors, they do reskins, and the skins match the environment you're in, and I found that was super cool.
I thought it was actually really funny, because again, I agree with you. I think most of the models hold up pretty well, and do a good job of like creating that environment and space. But I think it's really funny that all of the mobs essentially have the same animation set.
Oh yeah, they're all like
just, like,
rigged to the same
and, like,
freaking thing.
Yeah, like same down animation, same walking animation, same everything, which I think is really funny. But it's also really useful because again, at a glance, I see that they're different, but the thing that tells me that, oh, this is just like, X enemy that I fought before, and I just need to punch him once and he'll go down and I can pick him up. the way that I can like associate that is because they had the same animation. I was like, oh, easy peasy. You just punch this guy, and even though he looks like just a straight up skeleton now,
Right.
I know how to fight him, rather than looking like a dinosaur. So I thought that was really good, and I think the models look really nice. Again, I know that we both said that the circus was super creepy.
Yeah.
Like that, I think the circus is the one that had like that weird flying baby.
Oh yeah, as the boss or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of the bosses are really weird.
Yeah, they're pretty nightmarish.
Like that's so creepy to see in like a kid's game. It's a good model. Don't get me wrong. It looks good for what it was supposed to do, but Jesus Christ, that would give me nightmares as a kid.
Yeah. You know what really creeped me out as a kid, but isn't that scary? Whenever
Which
you'd
one?
fall off the map and you'd end up in the freaking Unidog layer,
I
those
hated
dogs like scared me. I don't know why.
Those dogs sucked.
Yeah, they're not fun. So if you fall off
like
the stage,
that.
you'll end up in like this underworld
Purgatory?
area. Yeah, and basically you have to punch all the boxes to find the spring to launch yourself out. But if you hit
Yeah.
the water, or if the dogs bite you or launch you, you start losing money. And it's
Yep.
really easy to start like losing like hundreds of
A
dollars.
lot of coins.
Yeah,
I hated that.
yeah, it's pretty miserable.
Because at first, and I feel like I keep repeating myself on that, is that at first I was like, oh, that's an interesting mechanic that if you fall off the stage, this will happen. But I found that I didn't like it because unlike most other 3D platformers, in Wario you can move to the front of the screen, like towards the player, and that's not a ledge. Like in most 3D platformers, that sort of stops you when you reach like the edge of the screen to the player.
Oh yeah, you'll just
In
fall.
Wario, you can just fall off of that.
Well, it depends actually. Some stages don't
In
allow you.
some stages,
Yeah,
you can just straight up fall off of that.
right.
And that I was not used to that, because that, again, in every other game that I've played for like a 2.5D or 3D platformer, there's a wall there. Like even if I try to keep going past that, you can't. But in Wario, it's like, oh yeah, you want to fall down? We'll do it.
There you go. Goodbye.
So I hated that. And then what I also hated, in that like weird underwater hellscape, is that to find the spring to get out of there, it's completely randomized.
Yep.
So there's no like, oh, I found it once and it's just in the same box, any kind of thing like that.
You gotta run around the whole
It's
map.
literally you just have to keep running around and hope that you get it. And if you're lucky, you'll get it early. If you're lucky, and if you're not, you'll get it on like literally your last box. And I think that happened to me more than once. I fell down, and I broke literally every box before I could
Yeah,
get out.
That happened to me a few times as well.
Although, to the game's benefit, coins, even though you lose a lot of them in that area, and you obviously should be avoiding it, the game gives you so many coins that it's almost never a problem, even if you do fall down there.
Yeah.
It's holy cow. I didn't even 100% the game, and I had like 10,000 coins left.
Yeah, you have so much money in this game.
There is, because I remember when I did the first level, I was like, oh, this game is giving me a lot of coins. I should try to save them so that way I can like buy a good item later on or something, because I didn't know what the coins were for. But as I continued, I found, oh, the game's just giving you coins. So I just stopped caring about like fighting enemies or finding chests, because I was like, I have too many coins, and I don't plan on losing them in any shape or form. So I'll just hold on to these, and if I run into more, that's fine. Like
You pay the weird onion man to give you hearts or onion, and
he gives you garlic.
Your garlic, that's what it is, and that's it. That's all coins are used for. And the unicorn dog thing.
The unicorn dog.
The underground hell area.
Oh
lose them
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But other than that, they don't really do anything. It's kind of
They
weird.
revive you when you game over.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, the game over mechanic in this game is when you die, you just spend, I don't know,
You
200, and
pay
then it keeps
money
going up every time you die. Yeah, and you just spawn exactly where you were. All the
So I'm
enemies
guessing
keep the
by
same
your,
damage.
I'm guessing by that reaction, you didn't game over very often.
Oh, I did. I came over like 3
Oh, okay.
times.
Because
I
I was
just-
gonna say,
I just forgot about it.
again, going into the whole money thing, I game over pretty fair amount, I think, in the game. But it's not because I was playing bad. Like, sure, there were a few times that I could have, made a better jump or tried to dodge the enemy. But at a certain point, the game gave me so many coins that I was like, it's less cost effective to buy garlic. I should just die, gain 4 hearts that way,
Yeah,
and then
that's
just
true.
keep going. Because the game doesn't even like start you over from a checkpoint. The game literally, when you die, you just start over
Exactly
immediately.
where you were. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I have, 10,000 coins at my disposal, and it costs maybe like 500 to revive yourself. So there's no point to like play carefully because I can play as recklessly as I want, die, and then just continue from right where I left off. So even in a boss fight, like if the boss has 1 HP and I have 1 HP, I'm like, I feel no pressure to avoid your attack. I can just take this hit, revive, come back, and then finish you off.
Yeah.
More games like that, please, though, because that was fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of recent trends of getting rid of lives and just letting you just keep playing.
Yeah.
I think Wario World is a pioneer, man.
Yeah. Truly ahead of its time.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? They did
More
that
of
with
that.
Mario Odyssey because when you game over,
really?
you just spent coins. Yeah, you didn't have any lives
Oh,
in that game.
nice.
That's crazy. Full circle.
Something that is weird that has never come back in any game that was in Wario is aside from like all the enemies, because I've never seen any of the models that were in this game besides like Wario. I don't think I've ever seen them in any other game ever again.
Yeah.
Like, they're so bizarre. But okay, do you know what these spriteling gnome guys are?
You know, I don't. That's why I was saying maybe they're like a dream thing.
Because that really confused me, because that's not in any Mario game that I can think of, and they weren't even referenced in the story. Because the story is like,
I think they were. I think they were the
Well,
original ones who sealed away the gem.
no. So the game says that a thief took a gem, and then the gem was like cursed, so his whole like kingdom and riches were turned evil, right? And then the first gnome you free says something along the lines like, "Oh, we were captured and put in here by the bad guy." But they never say what their relationship is to Wario or how they know him or anything. And it's just weird because, again, it's not referenced at all. And clearly it's not important because Wario, they don't reference it ever again. And Wario's just like, yeah, I know these spriteling guys and I just free them and we're chill.
Yeah,
Like-
they're just homies, dude.
It's so weird because what do they have to do with any of the Mario franchises? Why are they here?
I don't
What are they
know.
doing?
Wario games tend to introduce like really strange characters, and then you just never see them.
And then just
again.
leave them.
Yeah. Moving on to the music. What did you think of the music in the game?
Well, I mean, we're probably thinking of the same thing, but I enjoyed most of the music. There was only one song that I didn't like.
Which one?
Would you like to fill that in? Could you take a guess?
Was it the
Yeah, okay.
was it the pause menu by chance?
Good guess. Good guess. Yeah, that sucked. That music sucked. Okay. So I remember saying when I first started this game, I was like, "Oh yeah, Brandon, the music in this game is like awesome. Like it totally fits and I love it." But then I remembered because a little behind the scenes for you. We write notes about these games like as we're playing it. And I remembered I had the pause menu on as I was writing my notes, and I wrote like a bunch of notes because there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to get down, and I don't want to lose it like while I continue playing.
Yeah.
So I was writing it all down, and I had the pause menu on. And if you know what the pause menu sounds like in Wario, it's literally just so imagine writing for like 10, 20 minutes, and all you hear is nah, 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 nah. I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. Because when I first opened the pause menu, I was like, oh, that's hilarious, because it's Wario, it's like kind of in your face and funny, and it works so perfectly. But as you're doing something else, I was like, Ooh, I hate this song. It's so annoying and like it's literally like a one note loop of that one audio bite.
All
Like,
right,
oh
Gary.
my god.
But consider, if you wait on that pause menu for 50 minutes, he says sorry.
For 50 minutes?
Yeah.
Why did you wait on that
If
for
you just
50
wait for
minutes?
50 minutes, he says, I'm sorry.
I don't believe you, but also I'm not strong enough to check that out and confirm it.
But yeah, I mean, the music in this game slaps. It's all really good. I think, once again, going back
Yeah.
to the first level, Greenhorn Forest has one of the most banging tunes I've ever heard in a Mario game. Ever. A Nintendo game, ever.
It's high praise. Yeah, the music was great. Again, the only thing that I didn't like was that pause menu.
It's very fitting, though.
Okay.
So moving on to our next segment, is there any problems that you had with this game? Maybe some, you know, of course it's a GameCube era game, so it's bound to be a little buggy, a little glitchy, if you will. But did you have any big problems with it?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I ran into quite a lot of problems in this game.
Oh yeah?
Not all of them were bad, and some of them were like pretty funny. And one of them might not even be a problem, so I'll get that one out of the way first. Whenever you beat a boss, Wario does this little pose where he like, does a thumb up and looks at you. And I noticed that every time he did that, he has this weird like polygon on his pinky
Wait, really?
that's like indented.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and you'll see it on like my playthrough, but it's on like every single one of his of his end screens.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, like it's just for one of them. Maybe my game was like corrupted. I don't know. But yeah, he just has like this one polygon that like sticks out on his pinky, and it's just weirdly like you can see the square, you know? And that I don't know. Other than that, I think the models were fine. Wario's idol's a little weird, like his eyes just sort of wiggle and expand, which I thought was kind of
I
creepy.
love his animations. They're so goofy, man.
But that's not necessarily a
A
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just thought that was something weird that
they
I
just
wanted to
kinda,
point
like,
out.
Jiggle around.
Yeah, I don't know when else I'm gonna get the chance to say that, so I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, I did have quite a few problems that I ran into, and not even like ran into, but experienced.
Yeah.
So there is no tutorial in this game. You have to figure out your controls all on your own, which is fine.
Well,
You know, like I've
the spritlings after you save every spriteling, they give you a little hint or like a tip, and some of
And
them do
so,
teach
yeah,
you controls.
that's what I'm getting at is I'm fine with games where you have to learn the controls on your own. That's not a new concept to me. What I don't like is when you don't know what the controls are for, and then you only find out much later. Some of the things, like one of the actions Wario can do is a like vacuum suction by opening his mouth, which makes no sense to me because he's not Kirby. But he
A money vacuum.
right, that ability of Wario's isn't explained until like the second or third level.
Yeah.
I don't remember when exactly
Yeah,
it's
it's like mid
explained. So I had that button, and I knew that it was like Wario just went like but I had no idea what it did until I found that guy, because why would I think to press that when there's a bunch of coins around me, when every time I tried doing it, like it doesn't fight an enemy, I can't use it when I'm jumping, like there's no reason or purpose for that button. So I thought, oh, maybe it's like a little taunt. But another thing is the game has the pile driver and the spinning throw mechanic, and when it teaches you those moves, like, yeah, it's neat, but they weren't immediately necessary. Like you didn't need to know it immediately.
Right.
So I just sort of had that information on the back burner. But when the game later on tells you that like, hey, you can use these to open doors, or if you spin an enemy on like a certain dial, it'll move.
Oh, the dials, yeah.
You have to spin in the right
Yep,
direction.
that's one of my
for that.
problems I have with the game.
And I hate that because it's like, well, why do you need to be so specific about that? Is something that I didn't like about that.
Right, dude. I with my smooth brain, one of those swirly pads in the freaking beanstalk world.
Yeah.
I kept spinning the wrong way, and I was like, why aren't I going up? Like, why am I not going up right now? And it's because I was
Right.
spinning the wrong way. I spinned like 4 enemies, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm
Yeah,
just
and
dumb.
so what I didn't like is that you have to spin it the right way, but also when you spin, you can only spin for a certain amount of time because
Yeah,
Wario will eventually throw the enemy.
I think you get like 25
Um,
rotations or something, and then he
yeah,
just
you
chucks
max
them.
out around 20. But one of the other things I didn't like is the game says that, oh, like it reminds you a few times of this actually, that when you start spinning, Wario will pick up momentum and it'll get to the point that you don't have to keep spinning
The stick.
the stick, and you can just start moving. But personally, every time I did that and I would start moving, I would be maybe at like 17 or 18 spins. So I only have maybe like 3 or 4 left before Wario's gonna auto throw the enemy. So I might as well just keep spinning the stick and try to move on my own rather than spin and then stop. Because there's a chance that maybe if I keep spinning, he'll keep doing it. So I didn't like that like you had the auto throw at some point. I mean, I understand like you obviously don't want someone to be
Going through the
spinning someone
whole
forever.
map, just like flying through, spinning somebody.
Right. But I think I just felt like that kind of sucked because by the time you build up the momentum for Wario to just spin on his own, you're already about to throw him out anyway. That it doesn't really benefit you to stop spinning, in
I
my
guess
mind.
so. I found a few instances where it was helpful, where I could keep moving around and stuff.
I mean, I usually just spun in a circle anyway,
I mean, I
so
did
I
too,
I
but
never
then
really moved about too
I
much.
found a few places where it was good to move around.
I enjoy that there were so many collectibles, and like each level had like 8 jewels and 8 of those like red crystals that you have to find to open up the boss doors, and there's all of these coins that you can find and secret doors and stuff like that. I think that's fine. But the problem is that there's so many uh, of all of those because every single level has 8 or more treasure or 8 or more of those, red crystals.
Yeah.
That it at a certain point, it just feels like you're dragging out.
Right.
So,
Right.
I enjoy going through the level on like maybe the first or second time, but if I have to keep backtracking because, if you find a red switch, that could be at the very end of the game, but then the red panel where the treasure appears could be at the start of the game. And it's like, well, I don't want to go all the way back, so I'll just flip the switch and then I'll keep going because I don't want to have to go through the entire level again. I enjoyed the combat in Wario. I thought that was pretty fun. But there's so many enemies, and again, you have so many coins that it doesn't make sense to keep fighting all of those enemies. And at a certain point, the game just sort of throws enemies at you, and I just found it easier a lot of the time because I had so much extra coins to just dodge the enemy or try and like maneuver around them because there's no point in fighting the enemy because I have enough coins. And yeah, sure, the enemy is easy to beat, but why waste, doing a 3-hit combo on a guy multiple times to knock him out and then pick him up and take out everyone else when I can easily just spend the 1 heart and get past him and move on with the rest of the level.
Yeah, enemies don't really poise any advantage to killing besides getting coins. But then there's even challenges where you have to beat up enemies and the reward is a mass amount of coins. So
Yeah. My favorite mechanic, though, for the entire game was the charge attack that Wario does.
Oh, I love
'Cause
that move.
That move is so overpowered. Because you know how we were complaining about how there was no like iframes for your guy in Shining Soul?
Yeah, this makes
That's how
him
that
just
charge attack
invincible.
feels.
Yeah.
Because you just blow into the enemy, and it's great on larger enemies because they're so big that you just run into their hitbox once, and then Wario will just like stick onto them, and because the charge attack doesn't really have an iframe, you just keep doing damage, and then they just instantly stagger, so you can just pick them up. And because it's a charge, Wario's also moving. You can just use it as a quick maneuver to get past enemies, and that's what I did a lot of the time. Is if I didn't want to fight, I would just charge past them.
Moving on to the final boss and the end of the game, what did you think of it? Like, I personally thought it was kind of short.
So at first, I thought the boss was kind of neat, But I was also like really let down because I had assumed that there would be a level like leading up to the boss,
Oh, okay,
but
yeah.
it's literally just the boss.
Yeah, you run up to the giant treasure chest, and then it's the boss fight.
Right. So I thought like, oh, there's gonna be a level and I gotta get through that and then I'll fight the boss. Like maybe I'll do sub levels, maybe I won't, but it's probably gonna be a hard level. I should prepare. But no, you just walk in there and then the boss comes out. And I wanted to like the boss, but I felt like he was really annoying because you have to free the spritelings because what he does is like he sets up spritelings in the little crystals and you just have to keep breaking them. And then once they're all free, you can hit him and pile drive them. But I didn't like it because while you're doing this, he shoots like those fire lines, those lines of fire that get in your way. And yes, at a certain point, I got tired of having to deal with this, so I just powered through it and took the damage and revived myself until I won using capitalism. But I didn't like it because that fire move, a lot of the times when I was trying to get to another gnome.
Would he shoot one like right in the middle of one?
Yeah, he would shoot one right in front of me.
Yeah.
So I would take the damage, and it would suck because like there's no way to essentially dodge it. Like you can't jump over it. You can't get past it in any way unless you take the damage.
You just gotta wait.
So unless you're willing to just wait there, you have to just go through it.
Yeah,
So-
I kind of eventually just abused his AI because I figured out that where you're looking is where he'll put a fire line. So I'd free a gnome, turn around, and like look left, and then you'd shoot one left, then I'd power charge and like run forward, turn around, he'd put one left, and power charge. I don't know what I
didn't
was
know that.
expecting with the final boss, but none of the other none of the other bosses in this game have a second form. So like, of course, this guy doesn't have a second
that's
form.
the other thing. Yeah,
So-
he's a one form, and he doesn't even have like extra hearts. He has like the same amount of hearts as most of the other bosses.
Yeah.
So when I beat it, I was like, oh, maybe there'll be something else, but nope, that's
No, he just dies.
literally it.
Yeah.
And the ending is really weird too, because the spritelings are like, oh, you did it, nice, and then they start dancing.
Yeah.
They do like a weird synchronized dance that apparently, I guess, just fixes your castle
Yeah,
and
it
gives you
rebuilt-
back your money.
They rebuilt the castle.
But then the weirdest thing is that for the ending, Wario's face literally like has a stroke, and then the credits just start rolling.
What do you
It
mean?
made
He's
no sense.
laughing. He's so happy.
That did not look like a laugh. That looked like a man. That looked like the Mario 64 opener where you're pulling his face apart. That's what
He's-
Wario's face looked like.
He's so happy, man. I'm just happy Charles Martinet got to have a field day with his voice acting. Like, I just love it so much. I think all of his voice acting in this game is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, Gary, how would you make the game better if you could?
Well, for starters, I would allow players to move the camera,
Yeah, the number one.
not just in like the overworld, but in those platformer worlds. Just being able to move the camera in general would be so beneficial.
Right. It doesn't even have to be full 360. I think even if you just let you adjust the camera more.
Right. I would honestly be fine if they didn't want to give you camera controls, then at the very least let me have the option of zooming out my camera.
Right.
Because for the overworld levels where you're not like in the little mini game area, those would greatly benefit from having like a zoomed out camera at any point, because you're so zoomed in on Wario that like sometimes you can't see things that are coming at you. So even just having the option to zoom out your camera would be amazing. One of the smaller things is if there were a way to make the fights more intuitive, because again, I felt like some of them weren't very intuitive. If there was a way to make that better, do that. I don't have a way to fix that one.
Right, like maybe make the crystal glow on the pillar guy when he's vulnerable.
I don't know.
or
Maybe like
something.
make it crack or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's only for like the barrier guys. Like for the ship captain, I wouldn't know what you would fix with that, because again, it's a very straightforward answer. But for someone who got away with just punching him in the face, I wouldn't know that.
Right.
But two of the biggest things that I would fix is, one, I really didn't like that the puzzles, or like certain puzzles, required you to spin in the right direction holding an enemy, or that certain doors required you to pile driver an enemy when I had already killed all the enemies in the area. So fixing that like maybe if you spun either way, it would be fine. or maybe you could like grab a box or something, like a barrel, and do the pile driver
Yeah.
to open the door. Because sometimes I would run out of enemies because I had killed everybody, and then I would realize, oh, this door requires an enemy to get through. So that's like a minor change. And the biggest change that I would like to see is just having less collectibles in a level overall. Like don't feel pressured to split up your level. I mean, if you had 4 of those sub levels and 4, treasures in each level, I would feel much more inclined to backtrack it if you could also like make the level shorter, because then you don't have to have levels that take 40 minutes to complete because you have to find everything, and maybe give the spritelings just something to connect Wario. Even just like a lazy one-liner where they're like, "Hey Wario, we paid your taxes. Like you gotta free us." Just
Yeah.
something.
So going off all the collectibles, do you know what the treasure does?
As far as I know, all of the treasures and like crystals are basically just the same thing as like regular collectibles. So you just sort of have them and pick them up for funsies.
All right, well,
100% it.
the actual collectible treasures actually do something in this game. Basically,
Oh, yeah?
what they do is every time you collect like a set of treasure from a level, it unlocks a card near the giant treasure chest. And
Okay.
essentially those cards let you hook up to a Game Boy Advance and like almost like DS download to your Game Boy Advance a WarioWare minigame from like the original game.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you have a Game
Sick.
Boy Advance and like a transfer cable, you can plug it in and like download the games onto your Game Boy, and you can like unplug the cable, and like walk around with the game on your Game Boy. Like no cartridge or
Oh.
anything. Yeah, it's super cool actually.
You don't need a cartridge?
No, it's
You
super
can just do
rad.
that for free.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it's so rad. I'm so sad we can't show it off, but it's super cool.
Were you able to do it?
Not right now, because with the current situation I'm in, I don't have access to my Game Boy or my transfer cable.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but it's super rad. I'm gonna have to show you sometime.
Yeah, that's sick. Huh. I thought it was just like collectibles for like 100%ing the game.
Right. No, it's like a cool little bonus that I guess not a lot of people know about.
Huh.
If you didn't like fully explore every bit of Excitement Central.
Well, I guess you wouldn't know about it unless you had unless for some reason you plugged in your Game Boy, right?
Well, so what happens is by the treasure chest there's like these cards, and if you punch them, it
Sure.
says connect to your Game Boy, and then you can download
Oh, okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I never punched them because I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, it's cool. And with that, that's going to wrap up this episode of Retro Rebound. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let us know what you thought by liking this podcast and subscribing to the channel. This is Brandon and Gary signing out.